All right, in this video, I'm going to show you how to plot data with a fit that Excel doesn't necessarily give you a trend line of. So it's not going to, you have to know exactly what the fit's going to be, but you could still put a fit on top of data the same way. There's a little bit of a workaround. So let's say we were doing a lab and we experimentally determined sine of x. We did opposite divided by hypotenuse, and we compared that to what our calculator told us in a calculator. We wanted to compare that to what we know the sine of x should be. So we also measured the angle. So x is really an angle. I just have x and y to show kind of generic y as a function of x. So let's say they may not look like angles right away until you realize that what I've done is just Excel doesn't know degrees, so I've just kept them in radians. So that's an angle of pi. Halfway here we have pi over 2, so that does actually make sense. These are angles, they're just not measured in degrees. They are angles that are measured in radians. So you can imagine I measured them in degrees and then converted it into radians. So we could plot it, we could insert a graph. So I can hover over and I go insert and I hit scatter. And that's what my data kind of shows. But what if I wanted to have a line here to represent an actual fit? Well, the way to do that is to go off here and to create separate columns. So I'm going to do X, and instead of Y data, I'm going to do Y fit. And what I'm going to want to do is, so that should be Y fit, is fill in this column, this Y fit column, with a bunch of expected values for X, and then have Excel, or for Y, and then have Excel smooth them over. So basically I need to start out with some dummy X values that go up by small amounts and get up to a reasonable number. So here I went from around, when I collected data, I went from an angle very small to around an angle of pi. So I'm going to try to do the same thing here. So let's start at 0 and then go up by 0.1. And then I'm going to want to tell Excel to keep on adding until we get to around pi. So what I can do is click on both of them. Click on, so hover over both of them, and then wait for that little black symbol to come up. And then I can just click and drag this down. And let's see, we need to go a little bit farther. And there we go. So that was good. So that takes us to around, or I only need to go there. That takes us to around pi. Now what I need to do here is set this equal to, and then I say equal sine of this. And then I just drag that down here and it fills that in. Now I just can add these data points to my table here. The way I do that is I have to right click on this graph and I have to hit select data. And then I hit add to add a new data series. So we could call this fit. Oh, so I clicked out, so we can call this fit. And then we have to say, it says X values. What you want to do is hit this little arrow, and then it'll let you select your X values. These are the X values we want to do. And then we can hit that arrow again. And then our Y values, we want to get rid of this 1 here and do the same thing. These are the Y values we want it to graph. Just hit that and hit OK. And now see, these orange dots represent our fit. And in order to make it look like a more traditional thing, what I want to do is actually right click it and hit format data series and go over here. And what I want to do is get rid of the marker. So I say no marker, but I do want there to be a solid line. And I could even change the color so it's a different color than my data.